Welcome to the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show, where we explore nighttime dreams, daytime desires, and the best ways to transform the tragic into magic. Because let's face it, we all dream, we all have our blessings, and we all have our challenges, myself included. And I don't want any of us to take any of those things lying down, if you know what I mean. I just wrote a book entitled A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste. It comes out spring of 2023. And in the meantime, I'm excited to explore the topic with you, whether it relates to your waking or sleeping dreams, because we're dreaming all the time, people. So let's make it the best dream possible. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. Welcome, everyone, to the show today. I'm so excited to be with you back from what feels like a very long break, even though it wasn't long enough, but it was chillaxed enough. I was just telling Katherine that I'm kind of going from completely like Zen to let's get this going. Hopefully I'll bring a little Zen to the in the saddleness. But it's great to be with you, Katherine Bell.
Thank you, Kelly. So good to be here with you. I'm really excited.
Thank you. So I often start with like a little prayer, and I feel like I need it today. So I'm just going to invite everyone to turn within for a moment and just take a breath. Let's go to that vacation space in our mind and our heart and our brain. Let's just take that breath and unplug for even just a moment. And just settle in so we can be fully present for this conversation and for these dreams and for the ahas and epiphanies that are lining up and waiting to bestow themselves upon us. So let's let go first and have that beginner's mind so that when we allow in the wisdom, the guidance, it has a place to land within us. So we call in our dreams, we call in our dreaming mind, we call in our dreaming intelligence, the part of us that thinks way beyond the box, way beyond what has been written and what we have any right to know. We can go beyond the libraries, we can go beyond the institutions and straight to the source. So that's what we're doing today. And I'm so grateful to be joined by Katherine Bell. She's such a powerful and beautiful dreamer and dream creator and dream worker. And I'm just honored to be with her. And we're going to take your dreams today. So I'm grateful for you who've sent in your dreams to me/us. And let's talk about dreams, and let's talk about dreams of dead people. That's one of the things that we're going to talk about. And then we'll open up the Pandora's box of dreams and see where we go. So let me introduce you all to Katherine Bell. She is a dream coach and the founder of Experiential Dreamwork. Her life has been deepened and enriched through her personal dream work, and she's passionate about helping you become more truly you by tuning in to the insights that your nightly dreams offer. She's facilitated dream groups for over 20 years and has been a dream coach for 9. She currently hosts weekly Zoom workshops on various dream topics. Katherine's the host and creator of the podcast, The Dream Journal. We need the audience goes wild, which originates as a weekly hour-long live radio show featuring interviews with dream experts to spread information about the power of our nightly dreams. She lives in Bonnie Doon Mountains, and the Bonnie Doon Mountains sounds like Scotland, of Santa Cruz, California. She's studied extensively, and without further ado, welcome to the show, Katherine Bell.
Thank you, Kelly. Yes, I'm near Santa Cruz, and apparently there's an enclave of Scottish lumberjacks, because there's a whole bunch of Scottish names. We have Loch Lomond, we have Scots Valley, and apparently Scottish lumberjacks settled around, as well as
I love it.
The Mexican people.
Oh, that's hilarious! And after having watched Outlander, I don't know if you've.
Yes.
my friend Gypsy, before she passed, she got me hooked on that show. So I always hear that song and think about that. And I think the symbolism that goes with you is the bell. How interesting that your last name is Bell. It's like it rings a bell. There's the freedom bell,
Clear as a
Liberty
bell.
Bell, clear as a bell.
Mhm.
I mean, that's not a bad name to be associated with. I used to think my last name Sullivan was like, it's like a dirty van, Sullivan.
Oh,
But it's a very like common Irish name. But I think it's somewhere it also means like warrior or something. It's like the last definition. So I'm like, I'll stick with that. My name Kelly means warrior. So warrior on warrior is like,
that fits you. That fits you
okay.
really well.
So, Katherine, before we get into some dream questions, what's on your heart right at this moment? I know you just spoke and led dream circles at the recent IASD conference. You're a very big part of that organization, the International Association for the Study of Dreams. So you've got a lot going on. What's on your heart with regards to dreams at this time?
Well, I love the ISE. I'm actually pretty late come to that conference. I started doing my own dream conferences here in Santa Cruz before I even joined the ISE. I didn't know it existed.
Interesting.
But then when I went to one of the big conferences, I'm like, yes, more of that. So I jumped right in. I'm like, yes, thank you. And I'm really like, one of the things I'm writing a book, as Kelly knows, we've been talked about this. I'm working on a book, which is super exciting, got a big stack of papers. And so one of the things that I'm most passionate about is what I call the treasure hunt of looking for those good things in dreams. Even the difficult dreams often have like just a moment where there's something clear. And of course, we can also believe or trust that even the difficult dreams are coming to us for our value, for our benefit. And that there's a way that there is a treasure in every dream. And so one of the things, it's like a gratitude practice, but with your dreams. And so can you bring that gratitude and look for those good moments, like in the waking life gratitude practice, having a grumpy day and like, oh, just nothing's going right. But wait a minute. Oh, I've got a roof. I've got a loving husband, I've got these things, and it just lightens it up. And it's the same with the dreams. You bring the treasure hunt to the dreams and you're like, oh, wow. I mean, that was scary, but there's this person who helped me.
Right.
Yeah.
You're singing my song, because this is my new book, A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, is all about finding the gold, being on that treasure hunt. And I think because we're habit makers as human beings, if we get in the habit of looking for the good, even when it seems like, okay, this is ridiculous, there's no good here, we find it. And then we just get better at that. And then the world kind of turns to gold. We get the Midas touch in some way.
But we want some range, some emotional range. And so
yeah,
the trick is not to just ignore all the difficult things.
Correct.
Like you're saying in your book, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. Don't waste a crisis. Don't pretend it can happen.
Right.
But there's some gold in here that is going to help me out.
Exactly. And I think if we do that, and I think that was a really important point you brought up, it's not about glossing over anything. It's a yes and. It's like, okay, this hurts, this is shitty, this feels bad, this is devastating, this is whatever, and give ourselves permission to hurl and cry and find like a safe place to do that. But in the back of our mind, I mean, I remember, like, I'm knocking on wood as I say this, I was writing in my journal on the plane to Colombia a few years ago. And I was writing about the blessings in disguise, writing about how if we train ourselves, we can find that in everything. And I got into this really magical place where it was like, wow. So then if we suffer, it's like, it's not unnecessary suffering. It's like that saying that pain is necessary, suffering is optional. It's like, what if we only experience what's necessary and the rest of it can be incredibly joyous. So I got off that plane and pretty quickly thereafter had my purse stolen that had my laptop in it and my passport and my money. And on that laptop was several iterations of several books that weren't backed up anywhere. And I thought, no, no, why? And I went through everything, but I had this little thought bubble following me that was like, yeah, what if there's a blessing in this? I'm like, yeah, screw you. No, it's theoretically speaking, not actually.
Really.
Don't make me have to put this to the test. But eventually and I wrote, this is one of the stories I wrote about in A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, how eventually I became grateful that everything got stolen, because I got to spend a month
Wow.
traveling unplugged. I got to really experience the culture, really be present in ways I never would have been otherwise.
Mm.
So
Oh.
it's an expensive lesson.
Did
But
you ever recover your work? That was
no,
no.
no, no. I was talking to somebody about this last night, and how it's so painful when I hear that somebody's lost their work. It's almost like I could deal with the money, I could deal with the laptop, I could deal with all that stuff, but the work, it's like, oh, you can't just recreate that. But maybe we make it better. If it happens, then that's the only positive spin I can find for that, is maybe this is meant to be a better draft. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very good. So Katherine, I'm going to bring on some questions, and let's just play with it. Let's pretend like we're in a dream circle together, and I'm going to see if I can do this. I'm feeling so technologically wild. Sometimes I joke about they should have hired me for NASA, but it's a joke. But you actually did work for NASA.
I did. I
Like,
worked for 11 years for NASA, got my PhD in astrophysics and all that. And I'm like, it is rocket science.
it is rocket science. That's just amazing to me that I know somebody that, I mean, you're so smart and so intelligent on all levels. Okay, so let's see if this plays.
Hi, Kelly. This
yeah.
is Tina.
Got it.
Can you hear?
I was wondering if you might could tell me what it means when you dream of people that have passed away a lot. My friend says I'm the only person she knows that dreams of dead people all the time. I dream of my mom, my grandma, my uncles, father-in-law, brother-in-law. I've lost several members of my family in the past 8 years, and I dream about them all the time, but we don't talk, but it's like I know what they're thinking or saying. But anyway, it would be nice if you could help answer the question why I dream of this so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Interesting.
Thanks, Tina. Okay, so Katherine, I'm going to hand the talking stick over to you, and then we'll play. So go for it.
So I'm first of all, like, just really feeling tender of how many dead people that people that have been in your life. I mean, there's like their ancestors and all, but it sounds like these are like your brother-in-law, people who have like been in your life. And so I just really feel for you, Tina. And that there is like some way perhaps that these that there's like a gift here that these people are visiting and like letting you know they're fine, that they're okay. In fact, that they haven't even left, and that they're here for you maybe in a way that they couldn't even have been when they were alive, because now they transcend all space and time, and so they can touch in with you wherever you are and wherever you happen to be. And so I think it's what a gift. I mean, I am jealous. I have so few dreams about my deceased loved ones, and I really feel like it's a blessing. I would have questions like, do these dreams feel good or are they challenging? It sounds like they're mostly feeling like a gift, and that's a gift that you get to have this connection with them. Because sometimes people who have passed away, like there's one particular person I'm thinking of who I had a challenging relationship with, and sometimes they show up and we've got stuff to work out. And it's really helpful actually to work it out, because just because they're dead doesn't mean that relationship is dead. I still love them. I still feel complicated.
So true. So true.
So that's, I have definitely had that kind of a dream, as well as just the blessing kind of a dream. So.
Right. I love what you just said, Katherine, about how just because somebody is passed away doesn't mean the relationship is over. And it's similar. There's so many similarities between the reality of us passing away and dying and dreams, because I would like to say a dream isn't over just because we wake up, just because it's like we're not in that state anymore, but that state doesn't go away. Just like a radio station, if we're dialed in, we're tuned in, then we're listening to a song, but it doesn't mean all the other stations go away. They're just not what we're tapped into in that moment. So it's, yeah, I concur. I absolutely ditto everything Katherine just said, Tina, and my heart goes out to you. And I want to say, I'm with you. I just finished writing the Dia de los Muertos Oracle deck. And in one of the first lines I put is, it's been the dyingest couple of years I've ever had, with so like record number of people that I love dearly, and pets. 3 of my animals. I mean, I have a petless house at this moment, except for Sparkles, my stepdaughter's dog, who I'm so grateful she gets to come over a lot. But it's a blessing to have loved so many people and to have had so many loved ones in our life. And it's the price we pay. I mean, if we wanted to live a life where we were never going to have our hearts broken, we would never open up, we would never be vulnerable, we would never become dependent, we would never lean on, we would never grow in depth and in connection with people. That's one safe way to never have our heart broken, but that would kind of suck. What kind of a life would that be? That's really the thing worth mourning, be grieving that life that didn't happen. So it sounds like, Tina, you have and have had a very full and beautiful and rich life. And sometimes it's just a kind of a coincidence. I dreamt about my grandma Sullivan. We called her Granny last night.
Oh, wow.
And in my dream, she was saying that she didn't want to fly. I was putting a trip together. She's like, nah, when you're my age, you don't need to get on planes and go anywhere. And I was trying to convince her to go with me, but it's like, nope, Granny knows what she wants, what she needs. So I ask myself, what's going on in my life right now that her presence or his presence or whoever's presence might not be an accident. And I am actually planning a trip to Peru coming up. So I have plans and travel on my mind. And so there's something about that. So I would think in general, the overview is they're communicating. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the one who wrote On Death and Dying, said that after hearing thousands and thousands of dreams about people dreaming about their departed loved ones, her assertion was, these are not just fictional, fantastical dreams. These are communication. We're being communicated to. So we should ask the question, why them? Why now? And how might they be trying to impart a blessing, a message, a gift upon me? Right. And vice versa. I love that you said that, Katherine. The relationship is still happening. So it's a two-way street. It's not just them. I mean, they perhaps are in a higher plane that might have access to more wisdom than we have here, but that's not always the case. There may be some wisdom we're tapping into that feeds their journey as well. So I think it's both. It's very important. That's what I think. I think we could do like many shows just on this topic.
Absolutely. Well, they call those like visitation dreams, when it's like somebody coming into the dream from the other side. It could be a loved one, or it could be some other being. We don't know how this works. And sometimes I find that they're bringing me, like when I dream of my grandmother, like the ancestors, that is bringing me a blessing, and it's like and showing me something about my own strength, my own fortitude. Like maybe I have that.
Yes.
Yeah, I have that ability to be wise the way they were.
Yes, exactly. I think that's a really great point, to do what we would do, like if it's a celebrity dream or really anyone in a dream. Ask, what are the 3 defining characteristics of this person? And how am I now interacting with that aspect of myself? So for me, with my grandma, she was older, she was wiser, she's feminine. She liked to make things. She was always quilting, always creating, and she was a wise ass. She was irreverent, and I loved her for that. I mean, I can't even say, I'm going to get bleeped off everything, but she would greet all of us with like a litany of cuss words because we were always shocking her, and she'd be, we're always like, so we joked that those were our nicknames, those endearing nicknames that were just a bunch of 4-letter words coming out of the mouth of this cute, sweet little old granny.
So can I ask you something about the dream that you just shared?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there's something here that I'm taking on, because you're absolutely right, Kelly, that we can use these dream characters and as kind of fodder to nurture what's going on with us. Like, what do I need a little bit more of? Do I need a little bit more cantankerousness? Do I need a little more? Or do I maybe need to leave that behind? Because she's coming on the airplane. She's like, no, I'm not going to go on that plane. Like, maybe I don't want to go there. So is there part of her that I need to leave behind?
She was sitting at a picnic table with a bunch of her like cronies with other, and she really didn't have a lot of cronies. Her family was all she wanted, but she was with a bunch of other old ladies and they were at a picnic table and they didn't want to go. So now, even of course this happens, I'm starting to connect with a lot more detail that, yeah.
And you're about to travel. Could it be that there's, even though you're really looking forward to all the excitement there, could there also be part of you that's kind of like, oh God, I have to wait in the airport and I have to.
It's a lot to travel these days. It's a hassle. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, more. It's like half of the planes don't take off when they are supposed to, and it's definitely wild. I know there is some part of me. All right, let's make it enough about me. Let's talk about me. But coming out of COVID, the year before COVID, I had never traveled more. I was on a plane almost the entire time. I traveled so much, a record number of traveling dates, and then a hard stop for years. And some part of me loved that.
Okay. Yeah.
I really loved the chillax. I loved that I had a proper excuse to not have to. So there's dueling parts of my personality. One part of me just loves to be on a plane, loves to be in a foreign country, loves to explore new lands. I feel like I'm growing and learning and living at maximum full tilt boogie in those moments. And then there's another part of me that's like, can I just sit at home and can I just write my books? Can I just do some like simple things? Life is so sweet. So thank you, Katherine Bell. You're ringing a bell.
That's what happens.
Thank you. Okay, I'm feeling better about my dream. Yeah. It's highlighting it. So I still, I'm going to Peru. If anyone wants to join me, you're welcome to. There's a couple of spots left. It will be a pain in the butt to get there, but it's part of the hero's journey. Okay, let's open up a couple other dreams. And thank you again, Tina, for that. You know what? One dream I want to share with you. This is from memory. I'm telling people, if they want to share a dream with me on this show, it's a little different than my previous show. You've got to email me a voice memo or just a dream that's written up to kelly@kellysullivanwalden.com, and I'll put you on the show. So a few people have sent voice memos, which I love. And one person, it was very long, so I won't play it here, but this was an interesting thing, Katherine. So in her dream, it's basically a series of climbing up a golden staircase, up kind of like, I picture Jack and the Beanstalk kind of a thing where she's going above clouds to these higher and higher and higher realms. And each time she gets to a certain place, she stops and there's some kind of like at one place, there's a Buddhist monk that she sits with and has a cup of tea. And he basically says, well done. Oh. And then she moves up and there's some kind of a Sufi master and the same thing happens. And she's feeling so good. And finally she gets to the top. This should be like a children's story or some kind of a bedtime story because it's so beautiful. She tells it with a lot of beautiful detail, but she finally gets to the top where there is no higher place to go on this golden ladder. And she sits down in front of a mirror and she looks in her own eyes. She pours herself a cup of tea and in her own eyes, she says, well done. So here's the piece though, that is like adds the cherry on top. While I was listening to her dream, I was listening to it on my phone and I was wandering around this little casita my husband and I were staying at in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I didn't realize it until she was finished talking that the whole time I'd been staring at this framed poster in this casita of a man that had just climbed up a golden ladder, and he was in the clouds, and he was like this Sufi dancer that was like spinning, dancing above the clouds, above this golden, not staircase, ladder. So it was like what? I didn't even know that was in this house. Like it didn't even, because it's not a house that I'm used to. So, okay. So what do you do with these moments when a dream coincides with waking reality? What do you do with that?
It's like a synchronicity.
Yeah.
There's something like where the dreamer is breaking through into the waking world, and not only the waking world, but your waking world. Like her dream is like breaking through into
Yes,
your waking world.
exactly.
And it's like there's like a kind of electricity. I feel like there's something like, whoa, like maybe this is like gets to me in my dream too. Like, you know, as you're seeing that. Yes.
I always like to say that in dream work, there's no FOMO. We don't get to have the fear of missing out because we hear a dream and it becomes
ours.
our dream too.
Absolutely, it does. And especially when it gets that kind of a reinforcement from the waking world, that synchronicity of having that thing in your, that poster in your waking life, the painting or whatever it was, that with the same kind of an image. So it really gets to be your dream.
I'm going to have to find the image and post it along with this show. It's stunning, but I agree with you. I mean, there's something electric that happens. And as Allie Lyon Sachs, who's part of my dreamwork practitioner training, she says it's like a glitch in the matrix when synchronicity happens. And we have this like, wait a second, or like a kind of stepping out of the Truman Show, stepping out of the matrix and realizing there's more going on than just this. And in this case, it's this ladder that's taking us up and out. What were you going to say?
Oh, well, I was just gonna say that it can be very different things to different people. Like, what's the name of the dreamer? Did you remember the name?
Her name is Leilani Love.
Oh, Leilani. So Leilani's experience of the dream may be very different than your experience of the dream, which is then different than my experience of the dream.
Yes.
And they're
right.
all valid, and they're all useful ways to look at the dream. They're all part of like this peeking through to the other side. And that even though we're sharing this dream, because my vision of the dream is very, very different than your vision of the dream, which is different than, again, from Leilani's vision, and what it means to us in our lives. Like somebody who had a really low self-esteem and it really didn't feel good in their life, but they're all like hopeful, there's something. And then if they had a dream like this, and in a case where you're not a very where things have not been that good for you, this could be like a sign of like really something amazing opening up, something new happening. And so and then if on the other hand, if somebody is like very self-absorbed or something, and they're like, oh la la la, they're like all up here, and then they don't know how to get down, then there could be like something about that that's also that's maybe not as healthy. So there's the kind of both things. And then there's those of us who are kind of on the ladder and we're trying to do what the next step and do the next level, that this could really be a confirmation of that. I'm really starting to recognize that what was the phrase exactly? Well done.
Well done. It was like, well done, my daughter, well done, my sister, well done. Like it was but it was well done.
Well done. Like
yeah. Really, and then it was finally well done to herself.
Yeah. So there could just be like this confirmation that we're on the right path, and that we are getting to the place of starting to really recognize that what we're doing is well done, and that our efforts pay off.
I love what you just said. And it's making me think of so many years ago, I want to say in the 90s, when I was first getting into self-help, metaphysical stuff. And I remember people being really big into mirror work, where the idea was to like lock eyes with yourself and say nice things to yourself. And I remember going, oh my God, this is so Stuart Smalley. I like myself. And gosh darn it, people like me. But I remember this one night I was at home by myself and I was having a rough day. I can't remember. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to try it. And the mantra that I was trying was, Kelly, I love who you are. That was it. And I remember there was something, I finally locked in, and it was like, oh, I felt it. I felt the transmission from myself to myself. And it was like something in me opened up, and I had this realization, and it's very similar to what Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way says. all of the love and approval that we're seeking outside of ourselves is fool's gold compared to what we are really truly seeking. We're seeking that validation from ourselves, and we can give it to ourselves like that. But it's the one thing that we don't build into our day. It's the one thing that we don't have time to do, or it just seems so ridiculous. But that one moment of doing that, I've never forgotten it. And I've done it a handful of times since, and I should do it every day, should, but it was so powerful. So I feel like that's part of what Leilani is reminding me. Now it's my dream, is what's all this seeking externally about? If I was to give it 100% to myself, then I might not change anything I'm doing, or I might do less. I might not have to get on that plane. I might be able to sit and have like my picnic and just be whatever. I'm good. I'm already whole. Like everything else is icing on the cake. So, ooh, it's so fun to bounce this around with you, Katherine.
Yeah, no, I feel like this is like something for me too, that I can really like recognize the spiral that I've been on, and I'll take that as confirmation that I'm on the right track.
Oh, yeah. And we got to just give it to ourselves, and not just for one day, not just, but like always. So I'm just affirming for all of us. Let's all try it. I love myself. I love myself. I love who you are. I love who you are.
I love who you are. I love myself.
I love myself. Yeah. I mean, maybe don't do it while other people are around, because, it might feel a little corny, but it's really powerful. Okay. So here's one more dream. Actually, let's see if we can get in a couple. So I've heard this a million times. I'm sure you have too, Katherine. This is from Barb, and she says that she has Guillain-Barré syndrome. Okay, maybe you haven't heard this one a million times, but maybe. She says that since she was diagnosed in November of 2020, she's not remembered any dreams. And she used to remember dreams every night. And she's tried researching it. Nothing comes up about why. Actually, I looked it up, and not being able to remember dreams is a symptom of this.
It's a nerve condition, isn't it? Some kind of a nerve condition?
I believe so. So what would you say to Barb about what she can do? Because it sounds like she really had a very vivid dream life, and then it stopped, which happens to a lot of people anyway, without having any kind of a disorder or symptoms or like some kind of a medical situation. So what do you say to anybody who's having a hard time remembering their dreams?
Well, first of all, poor dear, I'm sorry you have the Guillain-Barré syndrome. It sounds, I have had a friend who had that, and I didn't know a lot about the details, but it sounds very miserable, any kind of a syndrome. And it makes me wonder about medication, because sometimes the medication can really impact the dream life. Even alcohol, cannabis, this never mind painkillers and things like that, they can really suppress the dream life.
Yes, so true. Yeah, so that's, I definitely agree. And I want to kind of say the same thing I said to Tina about the heartbreak of dreaming about losing people. The good news, it means that you've had people that you loved, that you've had a rich, full life. And so for Barb, you're only missing your dreams because you've had such a vivid dream life. And that's a blessing. So we have to kind of count our blessings where we get them. And I would say on some level, because we are a dreaming people, we're dreaming all the time, Barb. You're dreaming even right now, and maybe start to track the coincidences, the synchronicities, the odd things that show up whenever you're conscious, and consider that you could interpret everything as if it were a dream, because it is a dream, and it's really not so different. And maybe even during naps or cat naps or even meditation, you might start to notice a little fantasy, a little flight of consciousness. Then maybe keep track of those things. Keep track of what we do have, because I bet you if you look for that, you'll start to, there won't be any void. What do you think about that, Katherine?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think daydreams definitely tap into the same part of the brain that happens when we're night. And so if, as you're, spacing out, you're doing the dishes, what comes across your mind, even if you listen to a podcast, there's like the thoughts go off. Like I like that. And maybe just keep a journal and actually write
Yes.
down some of those thoughts.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and you can work with those as dreams. Or like a movie, like you see a movie and there's just something about that one scene that just speaks to me. And I don't know why, but something about that one scene, and write that down, because that's a message from the subconscious. That's something meaningful here. So noticing those meaningful things, just like you were saying, to notice coincidences, synchronicities, and take that in as maybe your new dream life, and maybe that will wake up some more of your nighttime dream life. Maybe it doesn't, but even so, you still have some material to work with. You have some interesting things that are speaking to you on a psychic level.
Exactly. Oh, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think if we start to, just to go back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, if we look for the blessings, we look for what we do have, then we're going to find it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me see. Let's do one more. Oh, this one's a little bit spooky. Okay, this is from Genevieve, and she, let's see, she was a regular caller on my old show. Okay, here she goes. I've been sleeping in bed in her dream next to in waking life, she's sleeping next to a fairly new person in her life. And she hasn't slept with anybody in bed in a long time. So she's experiencing things in her dream that she's never experienced before. She said, let me see. I'm trying to get through. Oh, so in her dream, she's moving into his body.
Ooh.
And then she's trying to pull herself back into her own. So she's going back and forth. And it was like she said she was going into his childhood, like watching a movie that had nothing to do with her. She was going into him. So that's kind of, and then she,
scary experience, or if it was.
Let me just bring in this one other piece. And she said she also had a dream actually about a houseplant. And she was the house plant, and she noticed the effect of water inside the plant. And then she noticed the dew on the outside of the leaves, and she was feeling it. So what's happening with her is that she feels like she's actually going into people and into plants and into things in her life, in her dreams. Mm-hmm. So thoughts?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, one of my big questions is, what does it feel like? Is it scary, or is it kind of exciting? And, because there could be a way that I'm kind of if I'm the dreamer, that I'm kind of giving myself up to these different parts of people around me and the plants, or it could be like a gift. It could be like, I was again looking for the gift. That's me.
Yeah, you and I both. We're like the gift sisters. If there's a gift, we're gonna find it. Gosh darn it! No gift left behind policy.
That's it, exactly. So, but maybe it really is like a psychic ability, just to kind of sense what's going on in other people's bodies. And I feel like I have that a little bit, and sometimes it's a problem, because then I don't know what's going on in my body, and yet it makes me really sensitive to people around me in a good way, as well as in a way that I sometimes abandon myself. So there's two sides to this particular skill, and that sometimes I can have these insights, like I'm experiencing the childhood of this partner of mine, and I'm getting insights into what makes him tick, and this plant, I feel even the water droplets on my leaves. Maybe there's a way, it's thirsty, it's time to give plants more water. So it could be a useful skill, but there also is the danger of losing myself if this is part of what's going on, because I might neglect myself.
Right, as long as you have that solid place to come back to. Yeah. But it feels like it's human 2.0, what Genevieve is tapping into. I've done this a handful of times where feel like I've been in someone else's reality, even though I like to say, what part of myself is this? There's always, is it ever truly about somebody else? Maybe there's a reason I've tapped in. It's that part of me. But I think this is a very true thing. I think if we were really living at the 2.0 or 5.0 version of ourselves, we would be so empathic and so able to just snap our fingers and walk 20 miles in someone else's moccasins to know what makes them tick. So that way this is why I think dreams are such an important tool for all of us to pay attention to, because I think these kind of things happen more often than not, and they make us more compassionate, more empathetic, more wise beings than we ever would be otherwise. And how could we ever want to harm someone if we've actually walked those 20 miles in their moccasins and we feel them? Why would we ever want to harm the plant or harm the animal or harm the anything that we've lived inside of? And it is a part of ourselves. So all I know is I think it's a great gift, as Katherine Bell and I concur. And I think it is just like with any gift, there's the challenge of, what did somebody say once? That every gift comes with a whip. We can beat ourselves with it. We can like hurt ourselves with that extra sensitivity. So we want to have the gift without it having us. We want to be able to have some agency over when we use it and then how to come back. So I think, as Katherine was mentioning, it's really good to figure out that you have a safe and reliable way to pull yourself back in. So whenever you want to come back, you press that button and there you are. So you don't get stuck and you don't get confused ultimately. But what a beautiful, I feel like it's like you're an angel that can step inside. There was some Native American, and I can't remember, it was in the movie, something about Little Tree, and they were talking about how instead of using the words "I love you" in their language, it was, and I can't remember which tribe it was, but they said the equivalent to "I love you" is "I see you," and you just saw your guy, whoever you were sleeping with, and then you just deeply saw that plant. So, I mean, that's love.
Yeah. It is.
So, dreams are it's a hot day here in Southern California, but I'm covered in goosebumps. And there's this ringing a bell of clarity and joy that's happening in me. So, Katherine Bell, is there anything, where can people find out more about you, about the Dream Journal show? Give them all the stuff.
Yeah. So my podcast is called The Dream Journal, and it's on Apple and Google and Spotify and all that. And you look for pink logo with a black The Dream Journal written in it. And it starts as a radio show, which I record or broadcast live every Saturday morning from 10 to 11. And then I release it on Monday, unless it happens to be Labor Day, in which case I forgot and released yesterday. Oops. Oh, well, but it's pretty regular, about every week. And it's been over 3.5 years. So I've got I've got like 150 episodes now.
Oh my God.
You know, they just keep going. And I interview people, dream experts and also dream enthusiasts. And I also take calls. And so the nice thing about a live show is I do take calls. The last half hour, I take callers. So you can actually find the archives at KSQD, so Squid, KSQD.org/the-dream-journal. I'm also a coach, and I'm a workshop leader, and I lead groups, and I do one-on-one work as well. And you can learn about my practice at experientialdreamwork.com. It's all about the experience for me, experiential dream work, because I don't think dreams need to be interpreted. I think they are what they are. They're experiences, they're things that happen to us, and we can let if we let them in and let the experience kind of bathe us, that we'll be receiving that gift and actually honoring the dream. So experientialdreamwork.com, which I have a bunch of recordings of different interviews that I've done, and information about my workshops. They're every Monday. I have ongoing dream groups, 3 or 4 a week. I actually have almost every day a week. I've got groups.
Whoa.
I know, it's just I love groups. There's something about groups that really speaks to me. So I've got little groups with like 3 or 4 people, and then I've got big groups with 10 or 12 people. And I'm just experimenting with all these different formats of groups. And so if you get on my email list, I'm happy to let you know and give you my email, which is KRBell, KRBELL, number 6 @gmail.com. And or you can go to the experientialdreamwork.com. There's a contact list there to find out about. And of course, the book is happening.
And do we have a title for the book?
Something about the treasure hunt, I'm thinking. 'Cause that's kind of a good.
That's great. Oh, that appeals to me. That definitely gets me percolating. My
Well,
inner child self is like, ooh,
Oh,
my
totally.
dream self.
I tell you, the chapter I've left for the last is the most challenging of all. Of course, it's about the relationship chapter.
Yay, but there's a happy ending.
There is.
Spoiler alert.
Yes, spoiler alert. In fact, Max and I are about to have our first year of anniversary. We were married September last year, and it's
That's great.
the best relationship of my life. And we're doing great. He's just such a sweet guy, and I'm learning a lot because you have your issues, but we're coming through it, and it's like, oh, the magic is fabulous. And so writing about relationship, is
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's where we get the real PhD in that terrain. Yeah. And Max is awesome. I'm so happy that I got to meet him at the IASD conference, and I got to see you two together and witness the love. It's so inspiring. I think this world needs dreams, and this world needs people that are in love and figuring out how to do love and how to do life and how to have it help you to be more of yourself and not less. So you two are a wonderful demonstration of that. So love to the max.
Very nice.
Thank you for listening to the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show. If you enjoyed this episode, take a moment to like, subscribe, comment, and share it with your friends. My show can be found on Apple iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to pre-order my new book, A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, go to your favorite online or brick and mortar retailer, then head on over to kellysullivanwalden.com, tragic to magic. Input your order number and redeem your bonus gifts. I'm also excited to be offering a new live dreamwork practitioner training. So if that calls to you, go to kellysullivanwalden.com/dreamwork. If you'd like to join me for the live recording of these shows, most Wednesdays at noon Pacific, you can find me on Facebook at Kelly Sullivan Walden Dreams. If you have a question about your dreams or about how to transform your tragic into magic, email me at kelly@kellysullivanwalden.com. Until next time, remember, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And as you awaken to the power of your dreams, you make the world a lighter, brighter, more beautiful place, one dream at a time. Sweet dreams.